Worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast on this Thursday night, December 11th, 2025. We're going to get right to it, folks. We're not going to stop and plug stuff. We're not going to do commercials. We're not going to do anything but tell you right now, we're about to bring you an exclusive interview, an hour and 5 minutes with Tommy Robinson from the UK. Tommy will join us here in just one moment. I pre-taped it earlier today with Tommy, and I'm going to bring it to you right now. But here's what I need you to do, folks. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever it is you do, push it out right now. People need to know about Tommy Robinson if they don't know about him. And if they do, they need to hear his warning to America. The UK is the canary in the coal mine. And what happens in the UK, well, it usually comes here. They're ahead of us, but it's happening here. After my interview with Tommy tonight, I will be bringing in former Muslim and police officer and my good friend, Shahram Hadian. And Shahram's daddy was high-ranking in the military in Iran, left before the fall of the Shah, realized what was coming and got out. He's been lifting up a shout with me. In fact, he was with me in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, when we had that guy come into our conference. I talked about it tonight with Tommy, so you'll see it. So he's going to join us at the end to give us his thoughts, but also share with us a tragic story of what has now been reported of a gal being raped on the steps of a building in Nashville by what is reportedly a Somali immigrant with a long rap sheet, according to the press reports. We have problems in, well, my home state here now of Tennessee, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Michigan. In other words, folks, so much of what's happening in the UK, it is already happening here. We already have violent attacks by these Islamists here in America. And again, we have to warn more Americans. We don't want to see people wait until it's so bad that then they want to pour out in the street. We're thankful that about 1 million plus people poured out in the streets of the UK recently for one of his rallies. But let's not wait here in America till we have what's going on over there to that degree here. We need to wake them up now by using what's happening in the UK as the test case to say, here's where it goes. So wake up now, Americans. So will you do me a favor? Will you do yourself a favor? Will you do your kids and grandkids and your community a favor, your country a favor? Will you try to get people here right now in the next few minutes to watch this? And if you miss it or they miss it, we're going to post it immediately by tomorrow morning, if not tonight, at worldviewtube.com. Spread it far and wide when it's posted. Well, let's get as many people over here right now. So tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever you do. Get people here for this exclusive interview, an hour and 5 minutes with Tommy Robinson, and then I'll be joined by former Muslim turned Christian pastor, Shahram Hadian. Again, if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support. We push it all out for free. WorldviewFoundation.com. And now, here's our exclusive interview with Tommy Robinson. Joining me now is Tommy Robinson. He's a gentleman I've been wanting to interview for a very long time. He is internationally known, and he has been doing, well, in many regards, what we have been doing here in America. He has been doing in the UK, lifting up a shout of warning to his fellow citizens about where his country is headed, just like we have been doing here. So each of us, separated by the pond, have been fighting our own battles, our own worldview battles, trying to warn about the rise of Islam. And so it's been a long time in coming, but I have wanted to interview him for a long time. He graciously agreed to join us, and he does so now. Tommy, welcome to Brannon Howse Live. Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here.
For those who maybe don't know, tell us a little bit about Tommy Robinson, when you got started on this cause, and what has happened to you personally for lifting up this shout of warning to your countrymen.
So I was born in 1982 in a town called Luton Town, which is 30 miles north of London. When I was born, there was one mosque. There's now 45.
Wow.
I've seen the destruction of my hometown. I've seen what happens with open border mass immigration from Islamic nations. I've seen the attack on freedom, the hostility, the general violence, the rapes, the jihad. Just so you understand, children I went to school with went to fight and they died fighting for ISIS. Friends I grew up with have been imprisoned for terrorism. When we talk about terrorists or jihad, I don't talk about something in a faraway field in the Middle East. I talk about the people I queue up next to in the bank, or used to queue up next to into the bank before all my bank accounts were closed. We'll get onto that. But I started my activism in 2004, where I held my first protest called Ban the Luton Taliban. And that was after groups in our town, Al Mujahideen, who years later, become a proscribed terrorist organisation. But they were the main terrorist organisation for Europe. Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, some of the world's most feared terrorists, were ex-leaders of this organisation. 60% of British Muslims in prison for terrorism are ex-members of this group. Well, this group's head office was in my hometown. So crazily, a young man growing up in Luton, seeing so many problems, I'm a working class English lad, I looked and started going down the rabbit hole and looking into Islam and finding these terrorist groups, and then finding out that they're in my town. They're operating in my town for decades, unchallenged. No one would stop them. The police wouldn't stop them. So fast forward to 2009, a soldiers' homecoming parade through my hometown. This same group, hundreds of them come out attacking the armed forces, spitting in their mums' faces, calling them butchers of Basra, baby killers. And that was the final straw for me. I'd seen years of abuse, years of radicalisation, years of extremism. My whole life I'd witnessed it. I'd seen the total isolation, the non-assimilation from the Islamic community. And I was fed up, and I formed an organisation called the English Defence League. It's what I'm known for, really, throughout the UK. The English Defence League was groups of young English men. And I don't claim to sit and polish my halo, just to make it clear from the start. I'm a young man from one of the roughest towns in Britain, but we took the stance that enough was enough. And the rape of our daughters, what many in the world now know as grooming, we knew it was happening. I knew it was happening because it happened to a cousin of mine. That is where groups of Muslim men kidnap, rape, torture, and even murder young English girls. This is such a problem in every town and city in the UK that has an Islamic community. I set up an organisation, and it was never going to be female nurses or doctors that stood up to Islam and the radicalisation on our streets. So it was young men, young British men that come together for a common cause to raise awareness and make sure that these problems could be ignored no longer. When I started the English Defence League at the time, I was a young, successful businessman. I had 2 successful businesses and 7 properties. I expected Islamic violence. I knew what would come. I'd grown up around Islam. I knew when you try and talk about Islam, they will want to beat you down. I knew that if you have a problem with one Muslim, you may as well declared war on the whole tribe. They all come together as one. So I knew these things growing up, and I expected the threats and the violence and the problems. So I used a pseudonym and I wore a mask at the start. What I wasn't ready for was the full weight of the British state, accompanied by the weapons of their totalitarian state, the judiciary, the media, the full onslaught, the lies, the smears, the attacks. In the first 6 months of leading that organisation, my home was raided by the police 3 times. My businesses were closed. I was held under financial orders where I could only spend £250 a week. They used legislation that they proved, a bit like the Patriots Act, legislation that the Labour government introduced to deal with extremist terrorists. They then turned on us for talking about the terrorists. And at this time, no one knew about grooming gangs or rape gangs. They'd managed to cover it up for decades. There'd been a conspiracy of silence of religious leaders, political leaders, community leaders, police leaders. They'd all conspired to hide this problem, which was Islamic men kidnapping, raping and pillaging their way through our nation. They'd hid it. They'd sacrificed a generation of Britain's daughters at the hands of the multicultural order. They'd allowed it all to happen. And then along come this group of men. And they saw that it was easier to attack us, dismantle us, destroy us, imprison us, break us, than it was to tackle the real elephant in the room that they had imported through government failure, mass immigration of hostile Islamic nations and supremacist ideologies that do not wish to assimilate or integrate, they wish to dominate. So that's a brief tale of my story. I started in 2009. I led the movement for 4 years. I then left and become an independent citizen journalist, something I'd call the free media. I've gone on to become one of the most watched journalists, not just in my country, I guess all over the globe on these issues. I've become a specialist, a best-selling author of 4 books. On this subject. I know Islam inside out. I don't talk about what I've read in books or studied. I talk about a life experience. And I actually first come to America in 2010. I delivered a speech called A Warning to America. And that was given in New York at a Pamela Geller event. And that warning to America was something that I wish someone come to my country and give me 30 years ago. So I'm glad to have this opportunity on a Christian network, speaking to Christians in the United States, to deliver them once again a warning to America. Make sure you listen, because your future depends on it. Your culture depends on it. Your very nation and your children's safety depends on it.
Wow. Tommy, you're a brave guy. You're a bold guy. You persevere. You don't stop. You're even organizing an outdoor Christmas carol event coming up. I want to get to that in a minute. You're trying so hard to hold on to your history, your heritage, and the Christian roots of your nation, as are we. I just mentioned to you before we went on air here that in so many regards, you and I have been fighting a lot of the same battle, although I have not faced what you have faced to your degree. Although I fear that you guys are ahead of us. Many of us here in the U.S. fear what you have gone through is coming for us in America, for those of us that continue to speak up and speak out. But we have certainly faced some of it. Here's a headline from the Daily Mail, UK. This is back in 2017, April 2017. Be terrified. Muslim man films himself entering Christian conference in South Dakota, then showing off his arsenal of high-powered guns in his car. And this, again, is the Daily Mail. It went international, the story did. Let's play the video, guys. Here we go. Here's this video he made out in the parking lot after my security removed him from the conference where I was speaking in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This happened while I was speaking. I had a friend of mine who's a former Muslim turned Christian pastor who was there as well. Here we go.
So I'm kind of speechless here, man. The parking lot is full of people parking on top of each other. Ideal Yardware, whatever this is parked, that's full too. And you know, there's about probably 400 people in there, if not maybe 500. So you have your weapons with you. You know, if you want to be really scared, be scared. Be scared. Be scared. Be scared. Terrified. Terrified. And the ammo to boot. Right here. That's how I travel. That's how I y'all. This is just shit. That's it.
And then he went on to make another video later. We'll show more. Keep showing some of this here, guys. There we go. He went on to make another video later back at his house. I don't know if we have that one. There he is filming in my event. You'll hear me speaking. I don't know if it's going to make you play a commercial first, but no, here we go.
He revealed to them that he was the king.
Showed his Quran.
The divine.
That's my voice in the front
Fully
speaking.
God, fully man, Emmanuel, God with us. He performed signs that validated who he was. He said that he was the kingdom is in your midst.
My security guy is now confronting him.
What can you do for someone that has tasted of the good fruit, that has seen the power of the age to come, the millennial kingdom, yet they stomp on it, they trample on it? What can you do for them? So he's not saying there's an excuse for their sin. She's saying, what can you do for someone that's had so much truth revealed to them, Messiah standing right in front of them, and yet they still reject it? He who hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done among them the works which no one else did, they would have no sin. But now they have seen and also hated both me and my Father. So again, now they have a special burden on them. They're more accountable than others because they have seen these things that he said and did and performed and validated who he was. But this happened that the word might be fulfilled, which is written in their law.
I've seen it all, so we gotta get out of here.
There's no scanning of the crowd, no cameras are allowed.
I'm only gonna get out of here.
Without a cause? Are you hated without a cause, or are you hated for a cause? They hated Christ without a cause.
Yeah, your weapon.
Of course.
They hated without a cause.
Of course, but I'm gonna go. I just wanted to see how busy it was.
Okay. All right.
Well, you think I'm down every now and then?
No, but you were scanning the crowd.
Oh yeah, of course it was. I've been going. I'm on live right now at Facebook. So
What is your name?
my name is John Smith, the Muslim John Smith.
The Muslim John Smith. So he ended up getting 7 months. I'll just show you a couple more screenshots. Gun-waving angry Muslim arrested for terroristic threats. I think they say he is from Saudi Arabia. If I do the old Control F and put in Saudi Arabia, there you go.
Former resident of Saudi Arabia.
Yep. Here's another headline. Heavily armed Muslim man attends Christian conference, threatens people in Facebook Live video. Department of Justice, Sioux man's plead guilty to firearm charges. That's a video that's detailing a lot about him. Here's another one. I think that's the one I just showed. Heavily armed Muslim man warns U.S. public, be terrified. So all that to say, that was 2017, Tommy. Then 2018, we went out to another 5 cities. I brought in with me a former FBI guy. I brought with me a guy you may or may not know by the name of Chris Gobbets, who had gone undercover into Hamas/CARE in America, bringing out, I think, what was 12,000 pages. And out of that came a book by his father, David Gobbets and Paul Sperry, called Muslim Mafia. That guy was with me, along with a former FBI guy. And we ended up having terrorist threats put against our buildings, threats called into the hotel venues. We had to cancel some of those because the hotels pulled contracts. That, again, you'll find national news stories on that. All that to say, Tommy, we understand what you're going through, but not fully. You are going through far more aggressive than we have, and your government coming after you. That hasn't happened to us yet. How far ahead do you think the UK is from America?
Yeah, that was I'd say it has happened to you, and it was happening under Joe Biden. I'd say you were starting to.
That's true.
You're starting to experience it. Imagine Joe Biden won another term. When you voted to save America, when you had your vote for Donald Trump, from our point of view, that wasn't a vote to save America. That was a vote to save Western civilization. That was a vote to save us. We only have, if I name 3 people right now who are fighting for our rights, it's Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Elon Musk. That's the 3 major people who have been fighting for Europeans' rights, for our right to speech. Because without speech, we're finished anyway. And we live in a post-free speech era in the European Union. There is no free speech. To watch J.D. Vance address the Munich conference in the way he did and lay it out to them from the most powerful nation in the world and the most powerful government in the world, for us, was inspiring. It inspired us. It inspired all of us because it's been a lonely struggle. It's been a lonely battle over here. I've spent time in 10 prisons. As recently as last year, this May, I was released after 7 months in solitary confinement, held because I made a documentary that exposed corruption within the judiciary. The film that I made showed the weaponization of the judiciary, what we all know to be happening. It's what's happened to Donald Trump. It's what's happened to Steve Bannon. It's what's happened to Alex Jones. It's what's happened in your country to so many patriots, but it's happened across the West. It's happened to Katie Hopkins. It's happened to every single political figure who has gone against the status quo of the European Union with mass immigration or speaking out against Islam, whether it be Geert Wilders, most recently Marie Le Pen, whoever it is, Philippe de Winter, whichever country you look at, whoever the rising star populist leader was, they have faced relentless lawfare. I have faced campaign after campaign. There is not one single moment in the last 15, 16 years since the start of my activism on the streets from the English Defence League in 2009. I have not had one period where I have not been awaiting prosecution and prison. Even now, I have a trial in 2026, October, where I face 10 years in prison for challenging the fraudulent liars from the Daily Mail newspaper. So with no crime committed, but most recently, I don't know if you saw, just last month, I was acquitted of all charges in a terrorism case, and the judge ruled that the charges against me and the targeting of me was politically motivated. The judge gave a damning verdict against the police and against the state. I had a previous court case 12 months before this, where again, the judge hammered the police in their unlawful behaviour, the unlawful detention, the unlawful conditions they held me under for 6 months. For 6 months, I was banned from my own capital city. All of this was done to prevent any opposition to the pro-Hamas rallies. They fabricated a case against me. They detained me. They then prosecuted me. It cost me £53,000. I say it cost me. I'm very lucky and grateful to America and to Elon Musk because at the time of my last imprisonment, Elon Musk watched my banned film that was viewed by 167 million people. He saw the corruption in the case. He saw that I was imprisoned for telling the truth, and he stepped in and paid my legal fees for my last 2 cases.
Wow.
Both of both of which I've been totally acquitted. He's agreed to pay the next legal fees for my next case, which is just more lawfare. So, yeah, I have faced relentless lawfare from a government who, the reality is, if I'm allowed as a journalist to give to you, the American public or the British public, the European public, the reality of the situation in our towns and cities, then it would bring humiliation on our government. Because all of the problems we talk about, for example, in 2003 in Great Britain, there were 8,800 rapes. In 2023, there were 88,000 rapes. Okay? Why has it rose that much? It literally runs perfectly in line with the open border mass immigration from Islamic nations. You can do a graph just like this for Sweden. It's exactly the same. Okay? Our women are being raped across this nation. And if you're allowed to talk about who's doing it and why they're doing it, then we would all be looking to the government for their policy failures. You and the American government, Donald Trump has just stepped in. He's put a ban on many nations. He's trying to protect the American public. But my warning to America is you have had Hispanic immigration, Mexican immigration. And I've heard Americans moan about that over the years, and rightfully so, to do with many problems. But I always listened to them and just thought, wow, you don't really know what's coming. Because we have had Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Syrian, Iraqi, and for the last 8 years, that's who you've had flooding through your borders. Yeah, that's who you've had. You're seeing the Somali problem now, but I think you need to really brace yourself for what's coming. It's entered. They're in the nation. I know Donald Trump's doing a good job to try and get rid of them, but you've got probably 10 million. And many of them are now from Islamic nations which wish to conquer the United States. First and foremost, part of their Islamic belief is they want to conquer the world, to implement Sharia, to enforce Sharia, to take over nations. And you are an armed nation. So I think that what you saw recently, even with the two National Guard getting shot, what you've seen coming out of the Somali problems, these are just like a little trailer to a movie. And the movie hasn't started yet. It's coming. It's coming. So many of those who are commentating right now, I see attacking Israel on the American right, and I see aligning themselves with Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran. I look and think, these videos are not going to age well for you. Yeah, whether it be Qatari funded or Iranian funded, I think we can all agree that we have proxy armies in each of our nations. They've took over the universities through their funding. They've indoctrinated the next generation. They've radicalised next generation. There's an alignment from the left and the Islamists coming together. They wish to overthrow democracy and replace it, whether it be Marxism, communism, whatever their leftist idea is. But they're finding themselves coming together. They don't like each other because they hate religion and they hate non-believers. So they don't like each other, but they're aligning themselves together. But the worrying thing, which I'm going to bring this up because we have an American audience, is hearing so many Americans talking about the Muslims and Christians need to come together. You need to come to Europe. You need to come to Sweden. You need to come to Germany. You need to come to France. You need to come to 85 towns and cities across Britain where Islam and the Islamic community have raped and kidnapped and tortured our daughters. There is no Muslims and Christians together. We have Islamic ghettos. There is no assimilation. I'm from Luton Town. I've experienced it my whole life. So when I hear Americans sitting in an American city that has no Muslims telling us in Europe that we need to be friends with these people and we need to be on the side of Palestine and we know it. I know who Hamas are. I've been surrounded by that mindset my whole life. I know who they are. Hamas is ISIS. When you're surrounded, so when I'm looking at this and I speak about these issues, I get a little bit frustrated when we hear certain American commentators preaching to us about which side we need to be on. Or you see, is it Dan Blizzardjan? How do I pronounce his name? The big bloke who used to be with all the women. Now he's reading the Quran and he's on the side of Iran. His whole family from their history were
Dan Bavarian? Is that Dan Bavarian? Dan Bavarian?
Dan Bavarian. So his family were massacred in a genocide by Muslims, yeah? And he's now sitting here, for how much money I don't know, taking pictures with the Quran and trying to influence the next generation of the American public to somehow believe that Islam is our friend, that there's this nice, peaceful version of Islam somewhere. So my warning to Americans is that the problem's there now. It's there. I can't believe what you just said about CARE. Why has it taken, great move this week by Florida, but why has it taken this long? Why have CARE been allowed to operate They are the Muslim Brotherhood. They are a terrorist organisation. They are exactly the same. They wish to enforce Islam, caliphate. They want to get to the same goals. They just have different paths of getting there. Why have they been allowed to operate and influence in such a manner in the United States of America, when everything they stand for and everything they want goes against the core principles of the Christian nation of the United States of America? But these groups have been, no one's challenged them. And that's the biggest problem, that all of these groups work together under so many different umbrellas, and they're all working for the same common cause and the same goal. And many of our governments have been asleep. Your government, my government, they plan the next 4 years. This lot, they're planning 100 years. They've been planning this for 1,400 years. So we need to really wake up. And it's good to see so many Americans. I'm pretty surprised listening to the experiences you had in 2017 to understand the cancel culture and hearing the threats made against you and your church and your organization and this channel that we're talking on now about shutting you down, whether it come from Iran. That is then when they will implement lawfare. They have unlimited funds. They will tie you up. I was bankrupt for £1.5 million in my country. I face the same again now. So yeah, I'm grateful to have an American audience to really give them a warning, to say you really need to listen. This doesn't mean there's not some great Muslims out there as individuals. There's some lovely people, but mixing Islam and the West, you're mixing oil and water. There's no peaceful, it's not an experiment. The United States should not be an experiment. My children, your children, let's not experiment with their futures. When I say experiment, 45 countries have previously allowed Islam in as a minority. It's never stayed as a minority. It's never peacefully coexisted ever in history. It's not going to work. There's going to get a certain number. The funding comes in from Qatar, from Iran, from Saudi, wherever it's coming from. It's a campaign, and it's a worldwide domination campaign. So America will in the coming years find itself at the center of this battle because the enemy are inside the house.
Wow, there's so much there. But I want to start with this. You mentioned people thinking that Christians and Muslims can have interfaith dialogue and get together. That is something we have been fighting here very aggressively, particularly in 2017. I don't know if you're familiar with a guy by the name of Yasser Qadi. He's an imam, and I think he's from Pakistan, but I think he spent some time traveling into Europe. Here's a picture of him. He did a debate in 2017 with what is supposed to be a well-known, I guess, evangelical in some circles. And this happened right in my backyard, right where I live, a few miles. I exposed this along with Usama Dakdak and Shahram Hadian in 2017. We did 4 one-hour shows playing the actual interfaith dialogue where they admitted it wasn't a debate, that James White said that Yasser Qadi was his mentor on Islam. And they concluded by saying, we need to hold hands because when the secularists come after us, we're going to have to help each other. Tommy, when we released that 4 1 hours, we anticipated being attacked viciously by the Islamists. Really, we weren't so much. We were attacked relentlessly. Are you ready for this? Not by mainline liberal church denominations. We were attacked relentlessly by self-described, verse-by-verse, Bible teaching, fundamentalists, expositors of the scripture. They attacked us relentlessly, mocking our families, putting mail in our mailboxes, mailing mailboxes with me wearing a hijab, putting out photographs of my children, anything they could do to try to shame me or to cause problems with the networks that carry me. This was from the self-described Bible-believing evangelicals because they wanted, I guess, to defend their friend James White. We have found our greatest persecution from Bible-believing Christians. Now, we have a lot of Bible-believing Christians that support us. Don't get me wrong. We really, really do. But the church in America is so, and I'm talking again, what is supposed to be the conservative evangelical, they are so brainwashed by replacement theology and turning their back on Israel, saying horrible things, the rise of anti-Semitism with replacement theology. They think evangelism now is interfaith dialogue, even though Syed Khatib of the Muslim Brotherhood said years ago, Muslim Brotherhood is interfaith dialogue is a one-way street or one-way bridge to bring the Muslim to their side, not the other way around. All this to say is we're losing in America largely because of the so-called evangelicals. I had 2 former CIA people at my dinner table, said to me, back in about 2018. If you don't keep preaching to the evangelical crowd, we lose. The evangelicals are the last line of defense for the Muslims in America, and they have penetrated it with this interfaith dialogue you're now exposing. But Tommy, my biggest opposition and my biggest support, I want to be clear, my biggest support, but also my biggest opposition has come from self-described evangelicals.
Well, in the UK, the church are condemning me again now. They've condemned me since my start of my activism. When I used to hold a protest about Islamic rape gangs, which people said we were lying, we've been proven right in everything I said. Everything I started out trying to warn the public about, I have been proven right. Every video I've made has aged very well for me, not for the opposition. When we started out, the church would be on the side of the Muslims against us. They'd be standing with the Muslim community condemning us. And really, we were the church's lost sheep. There's been, if you want to look at the decay of Great Britain, if you want to look and learn of what not to do, Britain started derailing in a terrible path when we took the church away, when we went away from Christian belief, when we separated ourselves, when we told ourselves, and when the attack on Christianity happened. And it's been quite an orchestrated and well-oiled attack where even the mention of God turns people's noses.
I got a Mazzaro knife.
That's happened over many years. But the church were always on their side. And these diversity groups, because I was invited then by the church, Bishop Tom Robinson, Bishop of Pontefract. I was invited for a meeting with the leaders at the time, the English Defence League, the organisation I set up. As I said, it was young men who were not going to back down. We were hitting towns and cities in our thousands. We were bringing to attention, in quite a rowdy manner, but we were bringing to the attention of the world what was happening in Great Britain. We were putting it on the map. They couldn't hide these problems anymore. The church set up a behind-the-scenes peace talk with Muslim leaders. I went to the meeting. The preacher who was preaching there just left the Golden Dome Mosque in Jerusalem. They were the leader of the Deobandi sect. And when the bishop brought us in, he said MI6 believe that these guys are the future of Islam in Britain. Well, these guys were Deobandi. It's a very conservative sect of Islam that has no assimilation or integration. But the bishop thought it was great that they were having diversity days with the church. So I said, just talk me through one of your diversity days with these imams and their community. He said, well, we all come together for a Christmas lunch. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean we all? He said, so the Muslim community and the people from our church had a Christmas lunch. I said, brilliant. Let me ask you one question. Did you have wine at that Christmas lunch? And he just looked. I said, you didn't, did you? He goes, no, we had no alcohol. I said, so you had a Sharia compliant Christmas lunch? I said, okay, so you bent yourself straight away for them. The difference is they won't bend on their beliefs or their culture or their identity. You will bend. You're going to change. You're flying rainbow flags from our churches. Yeah, you are an embarrassment. The reason and I went head to head with your churches are empty. Yeah, we don't come there. We're not going to come there whilst you maintain this weak, cowardly position. And they're coming out now and condemning us. And the reason they're condemning us now is because there is a Christian revival happening right now in Great Britain. And it's not happening within the church. It's happening on the street. It's happening in the homes. It's happening in small places. It's happening within the prisons. It's happening, and they don't have control over it. And it's happening with a masculine form of Christianity. No more weakness, no more apologies. We're not sorry. We're not going to apologise for who we are, for our culture, for our identity, or for Jesus, or for Christ, or for Christmas, or for any of our celebrations. We're apologising no more. We're not going to hide them anymore. They're not going to be silent about it anymore. It's our country, it's our culture, it's our identity, our civilization, which is far superior than any other. All cultures are not equal. They're not. And we have had it up to here. And we have felt Islam's filled a void. It's filled a void where the church was taken out. I lived my life as a sinner. I was a sinner. Many of us were sinners. We lost our sense of community. Our community has been broken. It's gone. They've took everything. The home has been attacked. Every aspect of Christian belief and what built the foundations of our system and our culture and our communities and our country and our towns, everything that built it has been attacked. Everything. The weakening of the man, the weakening of the family. If you take the father out of the home, your children are susceptible to criminality, to drugs, to gangs. They end up in prison. They end up controlled, indoctrinated in many different ways, whether it be by gangs or by an education system. That's what happens when you take the father out of the home. When you break the community, you break the togetherness, you break the strength, you break the camaraderie, you break it all. And that's what they've successfully done. What we have done now in the last 2 years is start to rebuild that. We've started to rebuild it under our banner of Uniting this Kingdom. Unite the Kingdom is our name. We had a meeting 24 months ago. We spoke about what matters to us. And what we did was many different characters like myself, people who have been sidelined and been attacked and been labelled and been smeared. People, I had at the time only 300,000 on X when I was given my X account back. Each time I feel like I've been knocked down, there was a 4-year period where I was invisible. I was deleted from every social media platform there is. I was deleted from YouTube. I was deleted from Facebook. In fact, if you mention my name on Facebook, you got deleted. I was a figure of hate, not prosecuted by any courts, never convicted of any racism or any hate crime. For my facts, for telling the truth, I was made invisible. Then 2 years ago, Elon Musk picked me back up. He gave me back my X account and I started fighting again. We had a meeting. We brought people together who had all been sidelined and we said, our country's disappearing. Our culture is disappearing. This is the most important struggle we're ever going to fight in a generation of our lives. This is our battle. The time is now. So we come together and we said, let's agree on 5 things, just a handful. Let's not look at what we disagree on. And I brought 15 personalities together. Katie Hopkins, Lawrence Fox, Cole Benjamin, Maya Tusi. You may not know these gentlemen or these ladies, but they're big players in the UK, in alternative media or as commentators but individually, they're all on their own. So we brought them together, and I brought them together for days, and then we worked together behind the scenes for months to come to an agreement that we have to come together for our culture. We have to come together for free speech. We have to come together against mass immigration, against LGBTQ indoctrination of our children. We have to agree to align on these values. And if we do agree on these principles, and we agree to build a movement, and if we can change the culture, we can change the politics. Let's not try and start a political party. Politicians will ride the wave whichever way it's going. They're cowards and they jump ship very quickly for whichever way they see the wind blowing. We need to make sure they see the wind blowing in the side of patriotism and nationalism and cultural identity for Britain. That's what we need to do. And we're running out of time to do it. So we brought all those people together. We sat them down. We worked on a plan, and our plan was to celebrate culture, celebrate history. We've been told in this country to be ashamed of who we are. They have demoralised us. They've took away our sense of prideness and being proud. So we all came together and we said that at a click of a fingers now, with us 15 people under one banner, we can reach every demographic in Britain. We have more power than the BBC if we all come together, because you've got 1,000, you've got 1 million on YouTube, you've got 1 million on TikTok, I've got X, you've got this platform, you've got that platform. We can all work together. So we then started promoting our first event called Unite the Kingdom. And we decided to introduce what was important was Judeo-Christian culture. Christianity was, from those meetings, we need to get back to basics. We need to get back to values. Where do our values come from? Well, they weren't made up. What built Britain? The Bible built Britain. What built this most successful civilizations, Western civilization? Christianity built it. Let's not pretend anything else did. It was Christianity. So let's get back to basics. We then decided to have an event where we invited a priest. We invited gospel band to sing. We didn't want to protest against anything, but for stuff, as we could celebrate and celebrate free speech and celebrate history and celebrate culture. And that first event was on the 30th of June. And at that event, 30,000 people turned up. Remember, I've done my apprenticeship. I've led a street protest movement that has had many clashes on the streets. I've done it all. I know how they infiltrate you. I know how January 6th happened. We won't let that happen. So we together with the football groups they get condemned a lot in the UK, but football groups are young men, groups of men, and men that won't back down. So we aligned ourselves with football groups across the country and said we need to police our own audiences. No one can wear a mask. Because you see, if we let 2, 3, 4, 5 people turn up in masks, That is the infiltration from the government and the state. Now, I've seen it myself over years. There's an organisation called the Special Demonstration Squad, part of the British government, and their job is to infiltrate legitimate peaceful protest movements, and they cause trouble, fractions, disturbances, violence, all these things. So they take away your legitimate message. So the public don't see it as legitimate, because when they cause trouble, the media act as a weapon for the state. They photograph it. It's exactly what you saw on January 6th. But that was only possible because those undercover agents who were instigating it were able to cover their faces. So on our event, no covering the faces. We sat down with the police. We don't need you guys. We don't need you. We'll police ourselves. We will make sure no one steps out of line on our demonstrations. Everyone shows respect. Now, on that first demonstration, it would have sent shockwaves to the establishment. There was not one single arrest. It was the first time that patriots had come together in their tens of thousands in the capital city of London. London looked like London once again. From that 30,000, we went on to the 27th of July. Just 5 weeks later, and 100,000 Brits turned up. And we had the most beautiful day. And it was a day where I felt the hairs in the back of my neck stand up as I felt us coming together. We then went on, do you know, the 28th of July, the day after that demonstration, I was detained and arrested under the Terrorism Act. They come for me because they were scared and they were worried about what was happening. They were trying to put out the fire. And by trying to put out the fire, they imprisoned me. They imprisoned me. I played my film that was banned on the 27th of July. They sentenced me to 18 months. They put me on solitary confinement to try and break me. They also arrested British mothers and sentenced them to 31 months for posts on Facebook during the riots over the Southport Axel Ruda Cabana murder. So they tried to put out the fire. But rather than put out the fire, they lit the fire. They lit the fire in the hearts of every British male, every proud British nationalist. They bought them out. So then when I come out of jail last May, as soon as I walked out, the first thing I said was the 13th of September. You haven't put out the fire, you've lit it, and we're coming in our millions. And what you're showing now on your screen is the biggest event ever in British history. The fight back is on. The government know it's on. The British public, you know what? Fear is paralysing, and they had managed to paralyse our entire nation of men. I like to look at British men as the fiercest and the toughest. We're a fighting nation of fighting men. And they managed to silence us through fear of being branded words, racist, extremist. And there's a good reason for that. Cancel culture. You've just experienced some of it. You lose your job. People want to target you. They pull venues on you. You can't pay your bills. You can't pay your mortgage. Well, they were successful in that for decades. That bubble has burst. The scenes you're seeing now, it's done. We don't care anymore. No one cares. Your imprisonments don't stop us. If they can't see that now, you put us in prison, our voices get louder. We get a bigger platform. We are now planning, we're going to announce this week, it's called Unite the Kingdom, Unite the West. This isn't a British problem. It's not a German problem. It's not a European problem. It's a problem that faces Western civilization, for the future of Western civilization. And we need to show unity. What we wanted on this day that you're seeing those scenes, we wanted to inspire the world, inspire the public, to let them know you're not alone. We've been made to feel like we're on our own. We're a fringe voice. We're lonely at home, feeling upset, thinking that the world doesn't think like us. We are the majority. You showed that in your election for Donald Trump. We showed that on the 13th of September when millions and millions descended on our capital city in a peaceful show of resistance, where we had 66 million people watch that presentation. That presentation was a show of celebration where we brought European leaders. And our plan at that time was to bring people from each country in Europe so the media come. So their journalists come. I'll invite you now, please, as a Christian broadcaster. We will give you the VIP passes. We give out, at our last event, we gave out 185 VIP passes for access to all areas. Not to the Daily Mail. They're not getting it. Not to the Guardian. Not to CNN. Go away. Yeah, go away. We're giving it to the truth tellers, to the free press, the uncontrollable free press. And we are building an army of new media. The last one was 185. We went from 30 media, 185 media. I guarantee next one we have 300 or 400 media passes from the biggest podcasters we had the biggest podcasters in our country. Jack Przebik's already agreed from America. We're hoping General Flynn's going to come. This is Unite the Kingdom, Unite the West. Our date goes out next week, but there's your invite, sir. Please come as representatives of your Christian broadcasters. Come and tell the story of the Cultural Revolution in Great Britain.
Wow.
Please.
Tommy, amazing. Tommy, are you I think you are, and I'm sure you're going to take this as a compliment. Are you the Oliver Cromwell of this generation?
I've been called lots of things of this generation. Do you know what? I think that Do you know what's sad? What's sad? I think men follow courage. Men follow courage. And even if I wanted to stop, I can't stop. I also have come to the belief, I've gone on my own path of belief. I believe I'm meant to be doing this. This is my destiny. I'm supposed to be in the position I am. I'm supposed to be rallying the people I am. I'm supposed to be from the background I am, from the town I am. Because from the town I am, people relate with me. They don't relate with politicians. They don't. Just some Americans understand we have a massive class system in the UK. And people like me, from our backgrounds, are supposed to sit down and shut up, whilst the hierarchy in the upper class decide how we live, decide to flood our country. But as they flood our country, it doesn't affect them. It's affecting us. It's our daughters, it's our sisters. So I take Oliver Cromwell as a compliment. But I think that, do you know, the era of weak leadership, the era of Emmanuel Macron's, I think it's gone. I think that there's a new breed of leadership coming through, and they're going to be speaking plain and simple. It's going to be an era of strong men led by Donald Trump.
Let me play a clip here. Watch this and have you respond to this, please. Here we go.
There's a very lovely, quaint notion being built up in the United States, driven by people like Tommy Robinson here.
Who's Tommy Robinson?
You know Tommy Robinson.
He seems like a fraud to me.
Well, he's not even Tommy Robinson. His name's Stephen Yaxley. It's not even his real name. He's also convicted of multiple crimes, thuggery, fraud.
I don't even know anything about him, but he doesn't seem like he's that into Britain.
Wow. You know, based on everything I've heard you say now for the last however many minutes, first of all, there are a lot of people that have names different. I think J.D. Vance has changed his name once or twice, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's all they got on you, but first of all, we have some very big voices here in America that have very interesting paths. You know, our very own Mike Lindell, you know, had his life transformed. Yeah, he's a good friend of ours. And we worked with Mike and helped him build Lindell TV. I was the co-founder of that. I was the one that helped build it. I went to him and said, I want to build Lindell TV for you. And for 3 years, I built it for him. And I've worked with other people here in the U.S., some of the names you've already mentioned, helping them in media. But this is the best they can do. And Tucker is not even aware of you?
Well, what I find funny, first of all, the name. So, yes, I used a fake name. Do you want to know why? Because I wanted to stay alive. Do you know there's 6 Muslims right now who are in prison doing 30 years in prison because they got to my location 2 hours late with guns, bombs and IEDs and suicide notes? Yeah? I'd be dead. They got 30 years in jail. So when I started the English Defence League, as I said, I had a successful company and a successful life and was like most other people, wanted to live my life. But I needed to speak out, so I used a fake name to hide my real identity so that jihadist didn't turn up at my home. Since that time, I've had 12 government official Osman warnings. An Osman warning is a warning by the government where they sit you down, they give you a bit of paper, and it says, we cannot protect you. Our advice is to leave and leave now. Yeah? That's the advice I've had from my government because we can't protect you. We are aware now of plans to kill you. Yeah? So I've had Al-Shabaab have named me to be killed, a terrorist organisation. So I have all these different things. So how dare I change my name? How dare I try and protect my family, Piers Morgan? Do you know what I mean? But when we get on to Tucker Carlson, when he says, who is he? Tucker, I've been on his show. He spoke about me many, many times. I've shown the videos. I've spoke with him personally. His team spoke to my team just 6 months ago. Yeah. So when he's sitting there saying, who is this guy? And then he has the audacity to call me a fraud when he's pretending he don't know who he is. So what's happened with Tucker? Nothing's happened with me. But Tucker, in that show he's talking to there, talked about the wonderful Pakistani taxi drivers in the UK. That's the Pakistani taxi drivers who have ferried all our young girls around to be raped and drugged. That's been the operation of all of these gangs, Pakistani taxi drivers. Piers come here and said, there's no problems here. Nothing's happening here. We have 40,000 British Muslims on a terror watch list. 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, costing £9 billion a year. How dare Tucker Carlson come and sit in my country and tell me there's nothing going on here? We had 26 children blown to pieces up in Manchester. We had a soldier beheaded. We had the Westminster Bridge attack. We've had attack after attack after attack of jihad. People being stabbed in the neck while they're having their dinner by Muslims screaming Allah Akbar. And I've got the audacity of Tucker Carlson coming into our country saying there's no problems here in Great Britain. Really? Tell that to the mums and dads of all the raped kids, Tucker. Tell that to all the people who are being punished in jail. Tell that to the prison system that's been totally taken over by Islamic radical gangs, Tucker. And you're going to experience it all in America. So none of these things are going to age well for people like Tucker Carlson. I see him out there now trying to flog houses in Qatar, isn't he? But I'd love to have my own sit down with Tucker Carlson, see actually what he does know, rather than him sitting there pretending what he doesn't know. Because I know he knows who I am. But the reason for that show there, and I'm sorry for my passion coming over it, is Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was in my documentary Silence that had 167 million views. I exposed him as the fraud charlatan that he is. I exposed him as lying about a child, causing the child to try and kill himself. So Piers is all really unhappy. He still sits and tries to say I went to jail for lying, but he doesn't wash. 167 million people watched my film. They know I didn't lie. They know I told the truth. Piers has no trust from the British public. He's a charlatan. He's been begging me to get on his show, which I will go on his show, and I will humiliate him like I did last time. Go and find the programme of me and Piers Morgan speaking last time. It was the most watched episode of Good Morning Britain.
Here's one more clip. Look at this one.
Have you felt threatened walking around?
No, not at all.
Of course.
Again, who's going to do anything? Pakistanis are all super nice to me, and the whites are all kind of craven and sad. No, you're totally safe here, man.
Yeah, totally safe here. Yet good grief, probably 15 years ago, showing the pictures of women, beautiful blonde-haired women, bloodied and beat up, their faces covered in blood because they were getting into taxi cabs. And I think if I remember correctly, from frontpagemag.com, they were running articles over there quoting judges in your part of the world, judges saying, women unite, you might want to be careful getting into the cabs of Middle Eastern men, right?
And not just that, just in the last 3 days, we've had a 15-year-old dragged in Leamington Spa, dragged in by 2 Afghanis in a hotel and raped. We've had 4 Muslims in another town who have gang raped a girl. We've had a mother and her 3 children burned alive by another Muslim. This is just in the last 2 days. So while he says you're all safe, it's a liberty, really, him coming into our country and treating the public like such fools. The difference is that might have washed 4 years ago or 5 years ago when we were censored and deplatformed. Well, we're back. We're back louder than ever. And we've built a massive, massive movement. And that movement's going nowhere. So Piers will be left standing. People will be looking at Piers knowing he's a fraud, knowing that. And the same with Tucker Carlson. Unfortunately for Tucker had the world at his feet. He chose, rather than having the world at his feet, he took £15 million of some Pakistani Iranian, £15 million to build his media empire.
Is that Omid Malik or whatever his name is?
Omid Malik, which I'm not being funny. What did he need £15 million for? Because all he does is sit and interview people one-on-one. I do that. My team cost us relatively very small budget. What does he need £15 million off him for? And since taking the money off him, Pakistanis are great. We need to be on Iran's side. Hates Israel, didn't you also say? Well, I think Hamas is like a political organization. Didn't he say something to that effect? We played that clip before, right, guys? It wouldn't surprise me at all. But there's a trend here. It's not just Tucker. There's a trend coming, and basically, what I align it with, if we look at each person, it's hatred of Jews and siding with this side. And that's basically it. That's how I see it. Yeah, I don't even see it as, because if you're looking at Israel, if it was about Israel, well, Hamas, if you call Hamas a political organisation, that one of the articles on their manifesto says the final day of judgment does not come until every Jew is dead. That's on their manifesto. Not every Zionist, not every Israeli, every Jew is dead. So the argument's just done at that point. Yeah. They're not a political organisation. They're a terrorist, bloodthirsty jihad. They are ISIS. They're ISIS. They're Boko Haram. They're all the same. So,
in fact, here's the clip. Here's the clip of Tucker saying this. And of course, I know this because you just cited their charter. If you read the charter of Hamas, I just released a book on Hamas. We've been covering them. I did 11 one-hour TV shows in my investigation on Hamas back in 2019. And yet here's... I
wish I'd have heard you, Brandon. I'm going to tell honestly, because, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and you next. So. Well,
we can send you... Our team can send you all kinds of stuff free of charge. We have so much research. We have 36 years, a library, radio shows, TV shows. I've been doing this 36 years next year. So
Where are you based?
I'm based outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
Because I was in the American Embassy twice last week. I'm hoping to have a pass to come to the United States.
Well, we would not only would we have you in our studio, but we would look to organize a rally or something. We just did a rally in Milwaukee, and we had 1,000 people show up. That was capacity, people standing. It was inside a building for security reasons. But yes, we have a very, very large following. Many of our clips do very, very well. I mean, we have a very large audience because we've been doing this for 36 years next year, and I'm on 74 Christian stations. So yes, we would love to lend our voice, but research, we have so much research we can just give to you that I think you'll find very, very, and we have a team. I have a guy that speaks Arabic who's here in the U.S., who's from Egypt, Usama Dakdok. I have the former Iranian whose daddy left Iran, who was high-ranking in the military 6 weeks before the fall of the Shah, Shahram Hadian. He's here. We have Annie Cyrus. Annie is one of my closest broadcasters.
I know that name.
You know Annie? You know Annie Cyrus?
I know the name, yeah.
Yeah, Annie Cyrus is one of my closest broadcasters and confidants and has worked with me for years. She is from Iran. She was sold as a quote, child bride. She has many fatwas on her head. She works with me. She translates a lot of our stuff in Farsi, tracks the IRGC for me. I mean, we've been doing this a long time. So all of our research, we're happy to share with you free of charge. But here's Tucker. Here's Tucker.
No one can plausibly claim that a Christian family are in Hamas. Okay, so like tell me, you can't claim that they're in Hamas while simultaneously claiming that Hamas is group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization, but whatever it is, they're telling us constantly they're Al-Qaeda. So it can't also be true that Christians are a member of Al-Qaeda. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess Hamas is just a political organization, Tommy.
I've never seen that, man. He is just, what's he done? What's happened with him? Like, what's happened? It's mental. I used to love Tucker Carlson. I honestly thought he was brilliant. But the thing is now, people can get things wrong. People can have an opinion. He just lies. To sit that pretending he didn't know who I was, it's just a lie. You're just lying to the public. You're lying. You're lying. Why would I believe one word you say after this? So
let's go to this here. This is you now again. I want to play a clip of you, and here you are on the street. And then I'm going to ask you about Charlie Kirk and if you think that is a warning for. And then of course I don't even know if you know my friend Phil Haney. Phil Haney was a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security. Sat at this news desk. I produced his TV show. He's the one that introduced me to Annie Cyrus. And he told us many times, if I'm ever found dead, I did not kill myself. And yet he was found shot on the side of the road in the chest. And he is the one that wrote the book, See Something, Say Nothing. He was one of the biggest investigators on Islam in America. He was being tapped to come back into the Trump administration, according to all kinds of information we have. He was one of the leading experts. He was indicted, I think, I don't know how many times, multiple times for not wanting to let these jihadists into the country, and they would be blocked and blocked and blocked. And he was in my documentaries and on my stage in front of around 1,000 people and at a filming of our documentary. And he said, I saved the emails when I was in the DHS to all these people. And when they would delete it, it would come back to me because I had a little system in there where it would bounce back who deleted it and what time to show that these guys all knew what was going on. And I thought at the time he was saying too much and he was going to get himself killed. And he was found killed on the side of the road in California. That's how I met Annie, was through Phil Haney. But you got Phil Haney, you got what happened to my friend and your friend Pamela Geller, my friend Robert Spencer, where you got what is reportedly an FBI guy texting tear up Texas to those guys there in Garland, Texas. And then there's my buddy Phil. And then you have Charlie Kirk being killed, who was warning also about the red-green axis. I don't know what that's all about, but I do worry about people like you, Tommy, and here you are on the street. And again, you're holding these public events, and now you're going to hold one with the public. But I do have to say, I'm very concerned for you, and I'll ask our audience to pray for your protection. But look at this. Here's Tommy, guys, what he's organizing.
I am in Norway, and it's freezing. In the build-up to Christmas, I'm flying home today. And this Saturday, the 13th of December, we need you. Your country needs you. Christianity needs you. Unite the Kingdom needs you. We can't keep moaning in this country saying it's a Christian country. That's what we all say. This is a Christian country. Unless we're going to celebrate and identify as Christians and be Christians. Now, this Saturday, there's not a political protest. There's a celebration, and there's putting Christ back into Christmas. We are having a great day of music, of festive coming together, of community, of Bible readings in central London. It's going to be happening outside Downing Street. We've got a beautiful stage set up. It's going to visually look beautiful. We've got glow up candles. We've got Santa hats, we've got everything coming together as a celebration. I think it's going to be beautiful. I want to finally stand and enjoy an event. Usually I'm so stressed, but on this one, I just want to watch that event, enjoy it, be part of it. The music, we've got opera singers, we've got Ricky Doolan and his beautiful gospel band. So it's going to be a great day. So please come along to London, meet us, meet me, meet the team, and celebrate Christmas together. It's going to be beautiful. You have to come. This is one thing. If you're coming to this event, you have to come from the Trafalgar end of Whitehall. You have to enter from that end. And there is another protest on the day. So when you come from Trafalgar end, you'll probably see another stage. It's a digital ID demonstration. Now, I fully support anyone opposing digital ID. Do you know why? Because I don't have a bank account now. I can't operate my life now before digital IDs. So they will not be in opposition to us, but you'll walk past their demonstration to get to the celebration that we're having. I'd get there about 2 o'clock. We'll be there from 2 o'clock. The music will start, speeches, Bible readings, etc. will all be from 3 o'clock. So help us put Christ back into Christmas. Let this be the first one. You see, by next year, let us fill Trafalgar Square. Let us fill the entirety of Trafalgar Square next Christmas. Let's start building up to it. But this is laying the foundations for it. The 13th of December in central London. I look forward to seeing you all.
That's this coming Saturday. Tommy, we're going to cover that. But I have to say, I'm going to ask our audience to pray for you, because when I look at what has happened to Charlie Kirk, my friend Phil Haney, what almost happened to my friend Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer. Robert is a regular guest here. He was just with us last week of jihadwatch.org. I'm very concerned for you.
Yeah, I've been concerned for many years. The problem is, it's like Charlie Kirk said, you just have to keep going. I listened to lots of what Charlie Kirk said. You cannot, what I learned very early is, you can't show fear. You just can't show fear. I know that with Islam. They don't respect it. They walk all over it. If I run once, I'll be running for the rest of my life. Not just that there's many people that rely on my voice now and what we've built. So I want to do them proud. I want to do my country proud. And if I'm honest, the British don't run. They never have. They don't run away from trouble. They run towards it.
You know, it's really sad too. Your king, King Charles, he just seems to be absolutely in love with Islam.
He loves Islam. I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Muslim, I'm telling you.
Well, I was going to ask you that. That was my next question. Do you think he has converted to Islam?
I think he secretly may have. And that may sound outlandish to some of your people, but if you go down that rabbit hole, trust me, you'll find stuff to back it up.
And you do know also that I think it was reported when he was Prince Charles, back in the early 90s, got a lot of the folks together, according to one book, and I think it was even on one of the royal yachts, and got a bunch of the folks together with Agenda 21, which became Agenda 2030, the Earth Summit in Rio in 1992, that he helped to really shepherd that thing. And now we see that a part of Agenda 20...
he's been pushing all with the climate change agenda. He pushes all of it.
Agenda 2030 includes 16.9, the plan, 16.9, which is to have us all counted in digit. You mentioned that clip, digital IDs. You know, I'm sure you're keeping track of the Summit on World Government. You know, the Summit on World Government in the United Arab Emirates. The Islamists are pushing hard with many of the folks in UK, America, for all of this central bank stuff, digital currency, tokenization. And that concerns me because I'm afraid that some of the folks that are for free speech don't realize that these Islamists would love that kind of system, because it will be used to, I think, punish people like you and me. And I don't think we're at the mark of the beast yet. I don't think that's happened yet. But from as the standpoint of someone that just got done teaching the book of Revelation for a year and a half, verse by verse, I think this is setting up the mark of the beast system that no one can buy or sell. And I sure think Islam is going to play a bigger role in the end times and tribulation than most Christians have realized. And I don't like the fact I see so many of these people going over to the United Arab Emirates, working with them to build a digital system that can be used to punish us that are speaking truth, not only about Marxism, but about Islam, Tommy.
I sort of asked if they'd be happy if the whole of Europe was Muslim, if it would be more controllable, if it would be easier for them to control it under their... Remember, a lot of the Muslims that are coming here are quite happy to be reliant on the state. We're not. We want small government. They want big government. They're happy to just take their handouts. They live their halal life. They're all quite happy. So yeah, the digital ID for me is a massive worry because I can't bank. I've been shut down. I can't have PayPal. I can't have MailChimp. They digitally shut me down anyway, a long time ago. I was targeted. Obviously, I've got X back. I've been given my YouTube channel back, thankfully, 2 weeks before I come out of jail this time. So, but again, that's a ripple effect coming out of the United States. If it wasn't for the United States, I'd still be invisible. So I'm very grateful that I'm able to sit here and get my voice across, and we've been able to enlighten and awaken the British public. But the digital ID is a massive problem. It's a massive worry, especially when you look at how China implements similar things. It will be us. It will be used against us. It will be used against our ability, where we travel, when we travel. Everything will be linked into it. So, and as I said, there is no digital ID now. I can't bank in the UK. I cannot get a bank account. It's impossible to live in the UK.
Guys, you see his X account there, T. Robinson, New Era. Follow him, pray for him. And Tommy, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time, for your for your courage. And if you come to the U.S., please let us know far in advance so we can organize and help you reach and awaken the American people. We have a problem that's very similar. Many of our churches are asleep. Many of them have been compromised. Many of our sheriff departments and police departments have gotten into interfaith dialogue. They have been wooed by Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE. Many of our colleges, American Christian colleges and universities, have bought into this as well. We have a lack of masculine men in America. I'm not saying there's not any, but we have the same problem you've been speaking of, which is we need to awaken the American man to understand what this means for their wife, for their daughter, for their grandchildren, and as well as for their sons if they ever want to, live free and have freedom of speech and freedom of religion. So I think your coming to America is a positive, and we would love to help to bring you an audience. Not that you probably need any help, but we'd certainly like to try to get the Christian community to hear what it is you have to say. So please do let us know if you secure your entry here, and we'd love to have you in our studio and or sponsor a rally with you somewhere.
Will do. I'd love to. Get me over there and watch me wake America up. Let's go.
Let's go. Tommy Robinson checking in. Thank you, Tommy.
Yes, thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Tommy Robinson checking in tonight. Follow him on X. What an explosive interview. It's going to go absolutely viral. And he has his finger on the pulse of not just Islam, but Marxism, central bank digital currency. You can tell he's very well read. But did he say he'd been arrested 10 times, spent months in solitary confinement? That is a strong dude right there. That is a strong guy. I think he is. I think he is the Wilberforce and the Oliver Cromwell of his generation. Absolutely. Wow. That was a pretty good interview, don't you think? An hour and about an hour and 5 minutes. And by the way, notice we didn't take any commercial breaks in there. So if you appreciate what we're doing, before I go to Shahram Hadian, who's going to respond to all that, if you appreciate all we're doing, we need your support, folks, to keep pushing out the truth, but also to give a platform to people like Tommy, to come along and encourage people like him and help his voice go even further than it already has, and to introduce, I think, Americans to him and his clarion call of warning to Americans. So again, folks, we are listener supported. Yes, we are under attack. We get under attack emails, we get phone calls, we get attacks we're under. We don't even talk about them because they're just like, just routine now. Well, folks, we're always under attack, and people are always gunning for us. And so we need your support. We need it now more than ever. We've had to up our security. We're trying to raise more funds for security. Again, it's important we hear from you. Worldviewfoundation.com with your end-of-the-year giving. Worldviewfoundation.com. Again, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail, or use the phone number there and leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her, and she'll get back to you to help you make a contribution over the phone. Don't forget about going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. There's a lot of great gifts there that you can access and use at this time of the year for Christmas. And with each purchase, you're supporting us as well. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All right, joining me now is Shahram Hadian. He's a former Muslim from Iran. His daddy was high ranking in the Iranian government, saw what was happening. He was in the military, saw what was happening, got his family out 6 weeks before the fall of the Shah. And of course, Shahram was one of the guys that was there speaking with me that night that Muslim dude came into the conference in Sioux Falls and made those videos that we showed during that interview. So Shahram has been with me on this for a long time. Of course, Annie Cyrus, Usama Daktok, and now we've added to our team Hadia Miramati. So anyway, Shahram. I always call you Usama. Shahram, what did you think? It's a pretty powerful interview with Tommy Robinson, right?
It was very powerful, Brandon. I'm so glad again that you platformed that. You gave him the opportunity. More Americans and more Christians need to know Tommy Robinson and the full extent of what has happened in the UK. I think that there's a majority of people that have no idea who he was and what he has gone through and what he's been trying to warn about the UK and now bringing that warning. So again, that was so powerful. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was an honor to do as well. Let's bring it home here to the U.S. now. Look at this headline. This is right out of our home state of Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Where were these judges when she was being raped? I guess that's what was being asked by a Representative Ogles, who's doubling down after Nashville judges accuse him of invoking violence. I don't buy it, by the way. I don't buy that he's invoking violence. But why do they accuse this state representative? And first of all, who was it that was raped? Can you tell us the backstory first?
Yeah, the backstory is that there is a Somali Muslim who is the perpetrator here. There was a woman who was raped outside of a church back in August of this year in Nashville, downtown Nashville. She was raped, and we don't know the extent of how she died from her injuries, whether some speculation was that this guy was choking her while he was raping her. It also could have been some drug issues there as well. Bottom line, while he's raping her outside of a church in downtown Nashville, she dies from that. And then we find out, and Representative Ogles is a good friend of mine, and I've known him for a number of years. He's the congressman from the 7th District, and he blew the whistle on this because we come to find out that, oh, wow, this guy had 12 previous arrests and was let off by Democrat judges. And if you go back to that article, I don't know if you can go back to that article for a second, but there's a link there to his Facebook page when he had initially linked what was going on. Yeah, right there where it says he posted, it's highlighted there. Click on that, and folks will see. It should bring it to his Facebook page. There it is. Now, once that loads, so these are the judges. You got to click on that +3. Look at the picture of these Democrat judges. One of them is wearing an LGBTQ robe. This is in Nashville, Tennessee.
What? Really?
This
Logan's
is in
gonna help me out here.
Nashville.
What do I got to click on, Logan? +3, right?
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah. Now just click to the right. Like there's one of them.
Oh, wow.
Look at this one. Look at this one. This is one of the judges that they let this guy off. They let this. So when Tommy Robinson was talking about the rape culture in the UK and the fact that, I mean, Tommy I think he got the ire of the state when he really began to expose the Muslim rape gangs and the fact that this was grooming that had been going on for decades and that the British government had turned a blind eye. That's when I really, in my opinion, not just that he was warning about Islam, obviously, and the Islamization of the UK, but then he's warning about the complicity of the UK government. Well,
he said it tonight. He said, when we interviewed him this morning, he said, I embarrassed them. Look, and now everything he's been warning about for years has happened. So he warned them, they did nothing, and now they're embarrassed because this watchman on the wall told them in advance years ago what was going to come, and now it's happened.
Exactly. And now the point that I wanted to bring home for all the viewers out there, Brandon, that would listen to that interview and say, well, but that's in the UK, right? And thank God that we don't have that here. Well, I'm trying to show them from these cases. Here's one right in our backyard, right in the state of Tennessee, where you have this guy. Actually, according to the article, apparently he had 16 prior charges. before he was freed by these Democrat judges. So Andy Ogles goes after the judges. Now the judges are like, oh, you're going to put our lives at risk. We need more security. And he doubled down today, or yesterday, I think he had made another post by saying, oh, no, I'm not going to apologize. Where were you guys when this woman was being raped? She didn't have security.
Now, is this guy a U.S. representative?
Yes, congressman.
Congressman,
not state.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes to D.C. Well, in fact,
goes to D.C.
Here's a little clip. Let's play this little clip, Logan. Here's a little clip. Watch this.
Tensions are running high at the criminal courthouse in downtown Nashville this morning as judges are asking for extra security. This after Congressman Andy Ogles called them out online over their handling of a recent rape case. Eric Pointer has been looking into this story for us this morning. So, Eric, what is Congressman Ogles blaming the judges for?
He says the man who was just arrested accused of raping a woman, allegedly, he says that person has a history of getting arrested, but Democratic judges and Democratic district attorneys, according to Ogles, have let those previous charges go. Now, Ogles started criticizing the judges right after 39-year-old Muhammad was arrested. Muhammad's accused of brutally raping a woman on the steps of a Nolensville Pike church back in August. Now, Ogles even posted pictures of several Davidson County General Sessions Court judges on his social media page. The judges say that Ogles' remarks seem meant to stir up violence. Now they're worried about their safety and have asked for more security. In a joint statement, the General Sessions Court judges said, "We stand united in condemning any language or actions that target judges or any elected official with threats of violence as a way to express political disagreement." And the judges, they have also reached out to Governor Bill Lee for help, and Ogles fired back on social media saying that instead of apologizing, these judges are condemning and they are complaining about his comments. And so far, right now, no response yet from the governor, but we will, of course, stay on top of that and bring you any updates as we learn them.
All right, couple things there, but one of them is, did the reporter or the outlet, are any of them in Nashville area reporting this guy is reportedly a Somali? I do see on the one news station, the congressman claimed the suspect is a Somali migrant with a lengthy criminal history. Does the media seem to be downplaying that this guy is a Somali?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, this has gotten very little coverage. It's now getting this attention. I mean, I knew about the story back when it happened. And I reported it back in the fall, early fall. But it's now getting all this traction because Representative Ogles, Congressman Ogles, found out that this guy had 16 prior charges and that systematically, and some of these charges were violent crimes, then he was released. So that's where, in fact, I sent you the link to the Rare article, Brandon. If you go to that Rare article, it details more about Muhammad. It has a link to his. No, that's the other one. That's the one in Minnesota that we're going to also talk about. There's the one. This guy. So there's this guy. And if you go down to the article, it talks about his arrest record is down there from Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Yeah, right there. There's all his aliases. So it's all detailed there. So this is not like we're not trying to slander anybody. This is all detailed, and it goes through the fact that some of these charges were charges that he should have never been freed from. And it's a pattern that we see of these leftist judges or the government turning a blind eye to Muslim rapists.
And again, the point we're trying to make to all the viewers is what has been happening now in the UK for so long. Those who think this isn't happening in America, it is already happening in America.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And the Minneapolis story is even more heinous.
This one here?
Because that guy who is also a Somali Muslim. Now, in this case, thank God, the feds have stepped in, kind of like our situation, remember in Sioux Falls, where the feds had to step in because the local didn't want to do anything. So this guy that has a record of rapes going back to 2017, if you look at the egregious one where he raped a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint, lured her on Snapchat, drove her against her will at gunpoint, was directing her to have sexual contact with her brother. Then he raped her. There's a DNA match in 2024, and yet 5 felony charges were dismissed against this guy, convicted only of a 3rd-degree sex assault. 36 months prior, was let out on probation. And so now the Justice Department has stepped in, and according to Deputy AG Todd Blanche, Minnesota created an environment where perpetrators believe they can act without consequences. And Pam Bondi said he raped a minor. Multiple adult women were raped, but he was freed by local court and raped again. So this is, again, another Muslim Somali in America, in the state of Minnesota. Now, obviously, this is in Hennepin County, which is very liberal. Nashville, very liberal part of Tennessee. But yet we are seeing these Muslim on non-Muslim rape crimes in America, and they're being let off. The government is turning a blind eye. Now, thank God again for the feds. In this case, in Minnesota, they're stepping in. And thank God for Representative Ogles that he's bringing attention. By the way, nowhere in Representative Ogles' statement, Brandon, do you see him call for violence against these judges. That's ridiculous reporting by that local station in Nashville. Yeah. There's nothing where he said, someone should go and do something. He was just saying, hey, this is accountability. Here are these judges that are sitting on benches letting multiple felony criminals go. In the case of the Muhammad dude, more than likely this guy was a refugee. When I looked into it back in the fall, that my research showed he's a refugee. He was brought in by one of these local NGOs that are working with the refugee resettlement. And that also goes into what Tommy talked about with the UK. Obviously, the unvetted refugees has been a disaster in the UK, and it is proving to be a disaster here in America.
So we have it in Tennessee, we have it in Michigan, we have it in Minnesota. I mean, we can go other places. Now, look, guys, I'm going to play a video for you here from Ben Bergquam of Real America's Voice that he just released today. And I'm going to apologize in up front. We're not going to scramble the page, but there's people giving the bird. But he put out this and said today, if you guys think that diversity is our strength, he said to all the, quote, useful idiots out there that think, which is not obviously the people in our audience, but if these useful idiots out there think that diversity is our strength, look, these people have no interest, apparently, in assimilating and becoming Americans. We've already seen the video where a lot of them that were interviewed on the street want Sharia, Islamic law. But let's look at this, folks, and how they behave. Here we go.
What a lady! Yeah. Hi, Donald Trump! Don't show them anything!
I got more whistles. More whistles.
You need to leave. You're not welcome. Get the out of here.
I thought everyone welcome. I thought everyone was welcome.
You was ICE?
I thought everyone.
This is us! We are citizens! We are here! Why are you here?
Where are you from? Where are you from? That's what happens when you let the third world in. Spitting at officers. Spitting at officers, blocking traffic.
Hey, shoot man! They got illegal!
I just get them out of here. Make America great again. I'm John Fitzgerald, and I am a MAGA. Make America great again. Get them the hell out of here. Get them the hell out of here.
You hear the way these guys are talking to him.
Yeah, no, I want them gone. I want them out of here. They are the most unfriendly. We live right across the street from them. And there's been times where this whole cul-de-sac has been completely lined with Mercedes, BMWs.
This is how they talk. Second generation.
Come here! Hey! I'm right here though!
Unbelievable. This is the problem. You got the second, third generation here. You invited them in, invite the illegals in, and then they have kids that hate this country, are taught to hate this country. And then you got neighbors living right across the street that have to deal with it.
There might be repercussions for me because, but 15, 20, 25 know where I live. I ain't afraid.
Yeah.
Not backing down.
If you could say something to President Trump, to Tom Holland, what would you tell him?
President Trump, start with Ilhan Omar, get her out of here and drag all of this business here, get them out of here. Yeah, we're Americans. Yeah.
So I noticed you've got a for sale sign out here. How much of that decision has to do with the illegals and the Somalis that are here in the neighborhood?
Oh, a lot. It's a major part of our reason why we want to get out of here. I'm wondering, it's been a little over a year now that we've been on the market. Can't sell, hasn't sold. I have to ask, why not? This is a beautiful neighborhood, except for that.
With your tax dollars.
Yeah, my tax dollars and your tax dollars, and anybody who's listening to this and who sees this, it's your money too.
Wow. Okay, I didn't think my guys were going to have time to bleep all that out, but they did. They were able to successfully bleep all that out because there had been a lot of cursing. I watched it earlier. So thank you guys in the control room for getting all that taken care of. But isn't that sad, Shahram? And this is, again, a bellwether moment. I mean, this is a warning. I mean, in the UK, as I said earlier today, was the canary in the coal mine. Multiple canaries have died, and Americans aren't listening, and they aren't, And I don't want to be. I'm not talking about this audience, obviously, but Americans need to grow up. And I hate to say this, and I keep saying it to the guys in the control room, that there's too many Americans in this country that are juveniles. They never grew up. They never grew up. They're juveniles, and a lot of them, unfortunately. When we end up like the UK, they're going to ask how this happened. Well, if we'd only known. So I know this audience is tuned in, and I know this audience agrees with me because they try to warn their family and their friends and even their church friends, and people don't want to know. And it's unfortunate because we become a generation of juveniles who are adults. Now, I don't know what this man's political persuasion is prior to experiencing this. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he wasn't MAGA. He announced tonight he is, but maybe he wasn't MAGA before all this. It's amazing, however, a lot of people are going to wake up and realize they have to join a team. They have to join a team. But there's a lot of people right now sitting on the sidelines that don't want to join. They just want to be apathetic and passive. This poor guy's had a year trying to sell his house. Can you imagine? Mm-hmm. I wonder what the factor is in the home not selling. I think we all know.
Right.
But comment on all this.
No, absolutely. Having been to Minnesota so many times over the last 7 or 8 years, I've heard these stories. I've heard these stories from someone like this. I've been in, last year, Brandon, I was downtown Minneapolis. I was training a group of Christians who have a heart for the lost, because at the end of the day, these Somali Muslims that are ungrateful, they hate America, they want to impose Islam. They are now getting to the place of that upper house where this is why they're so bold, and they're telling you, we hate America, we're going to win, supposedly. But I was training these group of Christians to go out and share the gospel with these Muslims, particularly the Somali Muslims that are in downtown Minneapolis in the Cedar Riverside area. And then the suburbs around that. Obviously we were canceled in Bloomington when we were going to have an event in Bloomington. That's where the Mall of America is. I've had, so many threats against us and events, either protests that are canceled in other parts, including St. Cloud, Rochester. But this area was the place where, we were trying to warn people about what was coming. And the Christians would go out, and they would only have about 20 or 30 minutes as they were out trying to share the Lord, because the moment that the word got out that there were Christians in the area, they would be swarmed by 20 to 30 Somali men because the phone calls would happen and they would be run out of that area, being told, this is now our area. This belongs to us, the Somalians. So this poor guy who's living through this now in that area, he's seeing it firsthand. And this is their tactic, right? This is exactly what Tommy has lived through in the UK. They go into these areas and they cause so much crime, violence, mayhem, hatred, intimidation, violence, jihad. Then the native people, they're like, I give up, I'm moving. And property values plunge. They go in there, they buy buildings, they buy church buildings, they buy restaurants, bars. I don't know if you know the story of a historic bar that was downtown Minneapolis, right next to a mosque, Palmer's, I think it was called, and then it shut down eventually. And the ironic thing was, Brandon, in 2023, when the city of Minneapolis, the city council, voted to allow the Islamic call of prayer to be broadcast 5 times a day on loudspeakers, that's the other thing these guys have to live through, is getting up at 5 in the morning before sunup and listening to that demonic call of prayer. When that happened, there was a bar, historic bar in downtown. They were with the Muslims. The owner of that bar, they were like, oh, this is wonderful diversity. They were advocating for the Muslims to be allowed their call of prayer. Well, guess what? The more the Muslims took over, business gone, right? Because in Sharia zones, no alcohol. And now Palmer's has gone out of business. The mosque has bought the building and is turning it into an Islamic school. This is the foolishness of the left. This is the foolishness of these governments and all the interfaithers that Tommy talked about. The interfaithers out there who are letting this in and saying, oh, isn't it wonderful? Look, we can coexist. There's no coexisting with this. There's no coexisting. And that's the reality. And it's sad. And everything that he's saying, it was funny what you said. How many canaries have already died in the coal mine? How much more can we warn America about what's coming and what's here now? But we will continue.
So exactly, we will continue. And you notice he's said he did the paperwork. He's trying to get here to America. We want to have him in studio. We'd like to sponsor a rally with him.
Amen.
So we'll see what happens. But we need to use guys like this to help wake up our fellow Americans. And you know what? I'm excited about the idea that some of them that maybe are against us right now or are apathetic and passive and don't know who we are and wouldn't even want to watch us, there's a time coming when they're going to be, I think, some of our biggest supporters and viewers and watchers. So I want to try to be patient with some of them.
Yeah. There is. I do see it. You and I talked about this earlier this year. I do see a very slight wake-up call in the sense of I think it's really coming to the forefront. And with the fact that you see this attention in Texas and now in Florida. See, remember I told you a couple of weeks ago I had done a show on red state mirage and this apathy in these conservative states where we think, oh, we're good. We're good. No, that's the battlefield. Look at what they've already done in Michigan, Minneapolis, New York, California, Washington State, where I used to live. No, the battle is Texas. The battle is Tennessee. The battle is Florida. The battle is Oklahoma or South Dakota or Idaho. Those are the battle states right now. And people got to wake up. But I agree with you. We'll keep warning. We'll be patient and prayerfully. I hope we're surprised at the ones who come around. I don't expect the James Whites and the Justin Peters of this world, Brandon, to come around. They're too arrogant and too prideful.
And you wonder why your country is going to go down the toilet. I'm going to say it again. The church in America will bear a lot of the responsibility.
Absolutely. And you said it many times, and I agree with you 100%. I do believe that, number one, Islam is the Lord is allowing these things as a judgment upon this nation, just like in the UK. When you have a nation that had so much good, I mean, obviously there was wrong Christian doctrine, like when the divine right of the kings, believing that they're the head of the church. But there was a lot of good Christian principles, Wilberforce, and getting rid of slavery. And there's a lot of good things that came out of the UK. There was a Christian heritage there. And now look, and Tommy talked about it in the interview, right? That when the UK got rid of God, the true God, the one true God, that's when it really started falling apart. And I wonder how much of that is really what's going on also, that what God is allowing in America. And I also 100% agree with you that Islam is a much bigger part, I believe, of the tribulation time frame than many people believe it will be, because of the spirit that it shares with obviously the Antichrist. But look, I think bottom line is we will keep warning. We will keep heralding this. Guys like Tommy Robinson have got to be heard in America. And how many people are giving him a platform, Brandon?
And how many? Tommy has more conviction and passion and perseverance than the average pastor in America.
100%. 100%. In fact, when I listen to the interview,
you don't get invited to a lot of churches in America anymore. You don't.
No. Or if we do, they're very small churches. Like,
or if you do, then they try to. If you do, sometimes they even put up a road. They put up guardrails. Well, we'll bring you in to talk, but we don't want you saying X, Y, or Z, right? Exactly. What I'm trying to say is, isn't it interesting that Tommy Robinson has more courage, conviction, and perseverance than the average pastor in America today? Not that there aren't pastors that have courage, conviction, and zeal and will die for their faith, but we're in a big problem when the shepherds won't protect the sheep, and they're not
exactly.
A lot of them.
When the
because they're not shepherds, they're hirelings, I guess. John 10.
That's exactly right? Because they're either hirelings. I mean, you can be a shepherd and fence it. I do believe that's possible in the sense of God's called you to be a shepherd, but you start choosing to fence it. And that's a dangerous place to be in as a shepherd. That's different than obviously the hireling that is, the evidence of the hireling, as Jesus said, is when the wolf comes in, they flee. They run and flee and they leave the sheep unprotected. That's the hireling. But there are genuine shepherds that I think got to stop being afraid of their shadow, got to stop being afraid of who they're going to offend. This whole concept of this new Christianity where Jesus never offended anybody is not biblical, it's not scriptural. Truth offends, especially when you're trying to warn. And when 85% or more of all the Christians right now that are being massacred around the world under the greatest Christian persecution in church history, numerically speaking, when 85 or more % of all those Christians are being persecuted or murdered at the hands of Muslims, to avoid that elephant in the room is to be derelict of your duty as a shepherd, in my opinion. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why what Tommy is talking about, which, hey, we're going to fight this with now worship and prayer and singing hymns and going and taking and lifting the name of Christ up. And I had mentioned to you, brother, that's what we ended up doing a couple of 3 or 4 weeks ago in Sugar Land, Texas, when back in April, the Muslims took over the town square and 3,000 of them bowed and broadcast the Islamic call of prayer from Mecca into Sugar Land and then declared Sugar Land, Texas for Allah. And our good friend, Dr. Andy Woods, when he called me and to say, did you see this? I said, absolutely. And my encouragement to him was, I believe your church has got to be the one to go stand in that town square with worship and prayer and preaching and testimonies and sharing the gospel. That's the only way we're going to push back against this agenda and have the Lord bless it. And they did that a few weeks ago, and they were courageous. They did an amazing job. And there were 30, 40, 50 Muslims there listening and other people protesting. But we were there, and they did it, and they stood their ground. And the name of Jesus Christ was lifted again up over that town square instead of the false god Allah.
Wow. Well, thank you for doing that, Shahram. His ministry he's a former Muslim, former police officer, pastor, speaker. We carry his broadcast here at World YouTube. TLMinistry.com. He and I have been all over the country together speaking. You saw the guy come into our conference tonight. That was Shahram and I at that event at my Worldview Weekend in Sioux Falls. So he and I have worked together in the trenches a long time. And as I said today to Tommy, I said our biggest persecution has come from self-described evangelical Christians. Mm-hmm. Our biggest support comes from evangelical Christians, but our biggest opposition comes from self-described evangelicals, pastors. people that, we're defending the word of God, teaching it verse by verse, but yet then they were the ones who were ruthlessly attacking us. So, folks, we've got a lot of work to do, It's sad when most of our people that get it, understand it, are not even deeply, people that are real deep into theology, doctrine, Christianity. But, because a lot of this doesn't require that. It requires just common sense at one level, common sense. So I don't know. It's very disheartening at times. But folks, we need to continue, because we see what's happening in the UK. It's here, it's growing, and we have to warn. That's our job. Occupy till he comes, be salt and light. Duty is ours. The results belong to God. TILministry.com, TILministry.com. Thank you, Shahram.
Thank you, brother. As always, it's a blessing.
You too, my friend. And folks, do you appreciate what we're doing? Do you appreciate the platform that we gave Tommy to try to introduce him to more Americans? Do we give a platform to Usama, to Shahram there, to Annie, to Hadia, Maramati? We do our best to give a platform to people that are courageous and bold and speak truth. And if you appreciate that, we need your support now more than ever, particularly as we come to the end of the year and get ready for our budgets for 2026 to push out more free programming like you're watching tonight. And not only is it free as you're streaming it now, but of course we put it up online tomorrow for people to share all over the place. So please consider going now to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution. Our bandwidth bill is many, many, many thousands of dollars. Our IT bill alone is about $10,000+ a month for the IT guys to keep everything running and defended and adding to it and building all the free chat channels and platforms like Roku and other places. It's so expensive to push out free television, let me tell you. So we need your support, even our utility bill to keep the server rooms cool so those servers don't overheat. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year, folks, to keep those servers cool. So our utility bills, our electricity bills, so much. I won't go into all of it. Our insurance bills, all the bills we're required to license stuff, license software that has to be renewed, those licenses every year. We had one the other day came up for renewal. That's $3,000. One the other day came up, $12,000. It's crazy. But yet here we are pushing out free TV. How do we do it? Well, you can support us. Worldviewfoundation.com. And then, of course, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Those companies pay us a little bit with each purchase you make. So please consider doing some Christmas shopping at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. But one of the most powerful ways is right there, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll find our mailing address there too, as well as the phone number. Leave a voicemail for Melissa, my wife, or text her. She'll get back to you. Help you make that contribution over the phone. We'll also send you a tax receipt with our EIN number by the end of January in the new year. All right. Roll the music, guys. Let's call it a night. What a great program. I guess our numbers are really high tonight. Really high numbers tonight. Can you imagine what it's going to do on the replay as well? Can we get a parting shot of Dolly, our Dolly cam, as we go up? He's trying to move the camera in place. Our beloved studio dog. Hey, I bet a lot of you are watching for the first time tonight. Welcome. Glad you're here. I hope you'll make it a regular part of your schedule. Dolly and I invite you to be here each and every night, don't we, Dolly? Dolly? You're watching yourself on television again, aren't you? All right. Well, for Dolly and myself and the guys in control room, thanks for watching. May God save America. Take care.